So as always, let's dive into the case study itself. There's the case study from our CeMAP 3 revision guide. I'll disappear for a moment as I take you through the case study. So Maurice is divorced and now lives with his new partner Jane. He works as a sales manager with a basic salary of $50,000, good money, and bonuses as well. He takes monthly maintenance payments of £150 to his ex-wife Linda and has no existing mortgage. Jane is employed as a trainee accountant, earning £15,000 per annum and hopes to qualify within the next 2 years. So, good income there. They found their house, which will cost £125,000. So a good price area, that one, isn't it? They require a mortgage and have concluded that their primary need is to keep the monthly costs to the lowest possible level to cover the period until Jane qualifies. She's hoping to qualify within the next 2 years. So we're probably going to be looking at some sort of 2-year fixed rate mortgage, but we'll wait and see, shall we, on that one. Now, they're strongly considering using an individual stakeholder pension set up in Maurice's name to fund the mortgage loan. So looking at pros and cons of this approach. He's already got a pension fund of $300,000, so he's done very well. And he's got 15 years to normal retirement age. So he's not looking at maybe a 25, 30-year mortgage. He's looking at possibly a shorter term mortgage, but interest only. They're also concerned about protecting the mortgage should either of them pass away. They also wish to protect their payments in the short term should either of them lose their income from sickness or redundancy. So we're looking there at redundancy disability insurance, RDI, which is something which may come up as a question as well. Maurice and Jane have total savings of £20,000 and they're willing to use 15 grand of this as a deposit. They are not first-time buyers, but their purchase price is well within the stamp duty threshold, isn't it? Again, that might be a question that's going to crop up. So let's take a look at some of the questions then. So let's jump into our first question then to see what we've got. And I'll head on down to there. Now, using the lender's criteria, if Maurice and Jane use their planned amount of savings as a deposit and raise a mortgage for the remaining amount, what higher lending charge will they pay? So it's a higher lending charge calculation coming up here. Now, interesting with this case study, they've given you lenders' criteria. They wouldn't normally do that as a criteria piece. They would normally do that as part of the questions. They tell you what the criteria is, and then they give you the question. That tends to be how CeMAP rolls. But the criteria that we're referring to is here. So let me just put this up for you so you can see the criteria that's going on. Now, as you can see, this is the higher lending charge criteria that we're using in this question. Now we're using a basic advance of 85%, there you go, which is where you'll start to have high lending charge charged. But then you have different rates of mortgage indemnity according to the percentage loan to value. As you can see there, you've got loan to values, which gives you different percentages. But when you do charge an indemnity, they charge over 75% of the valuation, so it's slightly different. So you have to be borrowing more than 85% to kick off a high lending charge, but when they calculate the charge, they base it right all the way back to 75% of valuation. And that's quite important, that one. So let's have a look at this question again then. Let's put the question back up for you. So what is the high lending charge? So let's head over to the whiteboard and see if we can calculate this for you to give you some figures to work with, because I've already prepared this one for you, as you can imagine I would do. So what I always do with high lending charges is I always do a little diagram like this to indicate the numbers involved. Now they're looking to buy a property and the property's valued at $125,000. There you go, 125,000. So I'll put that, and that's 100% of the property itself. Obviously that's the valuation or purchase price. Now remember, the 85% is the key figure. That's the basic advance. So let's put 85% in here as well, shall we? 85%. That's the amount of the mortgage over this. They are going to be charged a high lending charge. And I made that 106,000. There you go. Because I prepared this earlier. 106,250. So any mortgage they are looking to obtain above that, they will be charged high lending charge. And they are. They're putting down 15,000 deposit. So their mortgage, if I put it in there for you, is 110,000. Let's put that in there for you. Let's squeeze that in. They're looking to take out a mortgage of £110,000. That's their mortgage loan. Now that happens to be for the percentage itself, 88% mortgage. That's a loan to value of 88%. That's really important. Now, first of all, the mortgage is 88%. So that tells me what the premium is going to be for the high lending charge, and the premium is going to be at 7.75%. All I've done is I've just looked up on that criteria. Remember, that's the one I gave you earlier. So how much of a high lending charge is there going to be? Well, quite simply what you do here is you just look at the difference, don't you? But we don't look at 85%, we need to go down to 75%. Remember, they charge at 75%. This works out the premium. Now 75% loan to value happens to be £93,750. There you go. So that's the difference that we've got. So the difference between the two, so I'll do a little, I don't know what you call those in grammar. The difference between what they're borrowing and the 75% happens to be £16,250. That's basically the difference between what they're borrowing and that lower figure there. And you multiply that by 7.75%, and that gives you a grand total of £1,259.38, if we really want the pence as well. That's the amount of premium that they're going to charge. That's actually the high lending charge premium that's going to be paid to the lender. Now, the lender might use that to buy an indemnity, they might not, they might self-insure. They may not even charge these, so they might just charge an extra 1% interest on the mortgage. But let's see what that relates to then. So if we head back to our questions, and as you can see quite clearly, we've got answer C, which happens to be the correct answer for this one. So that's the high lending charge calculation. Don't happen very often nowadays, do they? Higher lending charges. Normally lenders will charge a higher interest rate. It tends to be how they self-insure themselves, don't they? On to the next question then for you. This is an easy one. How much, if anything, should Maurice and Jane budget for the cost of stamp duty land tax on their ideal house? Well, they're not first-time buyers, remember, but the 250 limit's going to wipe out any stamp duties. That one's quite an easy question. That's A, isn't it? Nil. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's get on to the next question then. See if we've got a bit more meat in this one. Using the lender's criteria, what is the minimum amount that Maurice and Jane must pay as a deposit towards their ideal house in order to avoid incurring a higher lending charge on their mortgage? So what we're looking at here is you tell them what the high lending charge is, £1,200. They go, how much? They say, how much more can we put down to get rid of that? So that's what we're looking to do. So let's head over to the whiteboard, shall we, for this one? Okay, let's just wipe this bit out. We don't need that bit, do we? Let's get rid of that for a second or two. Now, as we know, there is a higher lending charge on this one, which we've already calculated. So what we're looking to do is how much do we need to put down for them to eradicate the high lending charge? Well, first of all, we just need to focus on the 85%, because anything above that, they will charge a high lending charge. That's it. So really then it's the difference between the purchase price and that. That's what deposit they need to put down in total. So you just need to work that out. It's not a difficult calculation. So I've already done that. They're already putting 15 down there. So the difference between those two happens to be £18,750. So they're already putting 15 grand down, aren't they? But the difference between 110 and 106 is 3,750. And therefore they need to be a total of 18,000. So there's only another 3,000. Let's put that in there for you. It's only another £3,750 deposit do they need to put down to avoid high lending charge, which actually is probably doable for them. They've got 5 grand, although they'll need that for other costs. But they've just been told there's no stamp duty, and I don't think they're selling a house, so the cost should be quite minimal. But the question's looking for the total figure. So let's just go back to the question for you. The question does say Maurice must pay a deposit. So what's the total deposit they need to pay? And the answer, as you can see here, of course, is C, 18,750, because we worked that one out on the board, didn't we? So yeah, it's a good question, that one. Good question. Lots of calculating going on with this one. Number 4. What have we got here? Let's get out of the way so you can see this question. Using the list of mortgage products and assuming that they use their intended savings as a deposit, so we've got the right mortgage, Which is the most suitable mortgage product for Maurice and Jane? And we've got 4 products there. Now, the lender's criteria does give you the products, so let's just pop across there to take a look at those for you. These are the cap rates. Let's go back to the fixed rates. Now, as you can see here, you've got fixed rate for 2 years, fixed rate for 2 years. So you've got a couple of fixed rates, which are quite good. The problem with the 299 though is it's 60% loan to value, and their loan to value is 88%. So that one would fit their criteria. 399 fixed for 2 years. We've got capped, fixed rate 5 years there. We've got trackers, discounts, cap rate for 3 years, but that's 90%, that's okay. Cap rate for 5 years and a flexible offset mortgage. So we haven't got a lot of schemes, it's one lender only. We're not broking this one, are we? So not a lot to choose from, but in the exam they've given you these options. Capped 5 years, fixed 2, or fixed 5. Now if you remember rightly back to the case study, again you always have to go back to the case study, don't you? Here we got the previous page on the case study. The key information here though is that they want to keep the monthly cost to the lowest possible level to cover the period until Jane qualifies. And Jane's hoping to qualify within the next 2 years. So we're looking here at a 2-year fixed, aren't we, or capped, because we want to keep the rates reasonable as possible. So the only options really we've got, if you just go back to the question there for you, there you go. The only options, of course, we've got 5 and 5. 5 years is too young, so we look at 2 years. We've got 299, which would be nice, wouldn't it? But that's a 60% loan to value, which then leaves 399 fixed for 2 years. That fits their identified needs. So the answer there would be C. Number 4 is C is the answer. So that's just a case of looking at the criteria. Now remember, in the CeMAP exam, you'll be given the criteria in the question itself, not as a separate sheet. Okay, let's go on to the last question then. To fully protect the mortgage and meet Maurice and Jane's desired needs, what protection policy would be most suitable? Okay, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Because we've got different concepts here. Remember, they were looking at, again, back to the case study, because that's the key. Let's head back to the case study, see what it says about their protection needs when it comes to protection. Here we go. Here we are. Maurice and Jane are concerned about protecting the mortgage should either of them pass away. They also wish to protect their payments in the event of short-term illness or sickness redundancy. That's what they're looking at. So if we whiz back to the question and see what we've got. Here we go. So what are we looking for at number 5? We've got all sorts of different options going on here at number 5. Level term assurance for critical illness. We didn't mention about critical illness. Mortgage payment protection insurance. That sounds good, doesn't it? That's the 1 or 2 year short term illness, 1 year for redundancy maybe, and income protection insurance. But income protection is long term. They're looking for short term here. C, mortgage payment protection insurance and level term assurance. That looks better. Pension mortgage, remember, would be interest only. Mortgage payment protection and mortgage protection, that would be for capital and interest mortgage. But we're looking for interest only because it's pension linked, and we're also looking at mortgage payment protection. So the answer there would be C. Very close, aren't they? But like all questions in CeMAP 3, you've got to look at the case study. You ain't going to get the answer right unless you look at the case study and what the case study said they're looking for. So always refer back to it and make your answers. So I hope that's been an interesting case study for you.